The drama begins in ancient times in one of the kingdoms that had wars between the winged human clan and the normal human clan. And because of the wars, the winged clan doesn't have the ability of their wings anymore. After huge losses from both sides, they come to a solution, which is a truce between the two clans for a center. The winged king Desu takes advantage of the truce and leaves the rule to his uncle and escapes with his loved one from the human clan, and they live in a village which is far away. When the queen of the human clan finds out of Desu's escape, she searches for him everywhere to take revenge until she can find him and attacks him with her soldiers on the same day his daughter is born. Desu stands up and fights the soldiers and prevents them from entering his wife and daughter until his wife comes out and helps him fight the soldiers. A little later, they escape together until they reach the mountains. The queen tells Desu that she will take revenge on him and harm his newborn daughter, but Desu's wife begs her not to harm her daughter, but the queen doesn't listen to her pleas. The first thing she does is stab with her sword, and when Desu comes to save her, he gets injured by all the soldiers. The last thing his wife tells him is that he must protect their daughter at all costs, so Desu promises her, saying goodbye, jumps off the mountain to escape from them. As the days pass by, the priest looks at his daughter and recognizes her from the tattoo that she is the queen, and tells her that every 100 years, the kingdom awaits the Queen of Flowers, because she can unite the whole kingdom into one clan, and the kingdom will be pious. This is what the winged clan has to do. They look for the queen, to eliminate her, and continue the enmity between them and humans. So Desu asks the priest to help him protect his daughter from the kingdom. After thinking for a while, the priest agrees, and gives Desu a magical tablet that changes his appearance completely, so that the queen does not recognize him or reach him. 18 years pass. Near the river, we see the girl Ling, who is grown up. Ling wants a letter from her childhood friend, and she delivers the letter with a butterfly, in which Ting apologizes for his absence and tells her that studying is difficult, and that's why he can't get back to the village to see her. Ling is upset by Ting's 2-year absence and decides to visit him at the temple on her own. As it turns out, Ting is the crown prince of the human clan and is studying in the temple school with the clan's most powerful soldiers. And the same goes for the winged clan, who are studying in the temple with their prince Tian. And despite the truce between the two clans, they have a hatred to each other, and this is shown in the plan that Tian has to eliminate Ting. But the teachers of the temple discover it, and as a result, Tian got punished. After a while, Ling has come to the temple to meet Ting, and the way to the temple is so difficult that she falls off the mountain when Tian sees her on the mountain and asks her about her name and why she is in the mountains alone to meet Ting. Tian thinks that Ling is Ting's lover, so he comes up with an idea and protects her from the human soldiers when they try to get them. He tells her that he will help her meet Ting and asks her to come to the cave in the mountain. Tian tells his soldiers named Huan to go to Ling in the cave and inform her that there is a contest in the temple courtyard and that he will help her enter and find Ting. When they get to the temple, Huan gives her a magic thing that gives her speed so she can get into the temple before anyone catches her, and he helps her even more when he sends the guards to sleep. Once Ling takes the herb, her speed increases, and in a matter of seconds, she is at the temple. When Ting sees her, he got very shocked and asks her how and why she came to the temple, even though it is a forbidden area for her. Ling likes the magic of the herb that she hits the teacher, and she sees Tian in the courtyard and recognizes him and says that he helped her get to the temple. But Tian denies it and says he doesn't recognize her and that she must have gotten to the temple with Ting's help because she knows him. The teacher orders Ling to be jailed, and Ting goes to see Ling in prison and asks her why she came to the temple, promising that he will get her out of prison as soon as possible. When Ting gets close to her, he feels a pain in his hand and remembers the promise he made to the priest of the temple, where he was taught as a child to protect Ling and treat her as his sister. And the priest curses him with a curse, that if he breaks the promise and thinks of Ling any other way, he will feel the pain for the rest of his life until he dies. As soon as Ting feels the pain, he remembers the promise and quickly moves away from Ling. Ting then goes to the master and asks him to reduce Ling's punishment. But the master decides that the punishment is 7 lashes for 7 days and refuses to reduce the punishment, despite Ting's attempts. The next day, the two clans gather in the temple courtyard to attend Ling's punishment. and Tian is the one who will whip her himself. And no matter how much Ting tries to stop him, he insists on his decision. Huan feels guilty that he is the reason for Ling's punishment and is afraid to confess to the teacher because Tian is threatened that he will kill his family, so he tries to prevent Tian. He tries to prevent Tian from whipping Ling, but Tian pushes him away and whips Ling with 7 lashes so hard that she is injured. Tian then gathers his soldiers and decides to break into the prison and free Ling. But the news reaches Tian through his spy in the human clan, so he goes to the prison to prevent Tian from carrying out his plan. In the meantime, Huan has arrived at the prison and tranquilized the guards. Huan realizes the prison is open and rushes in to save Ling. Ting arrives and sees Huan, and the two of them cooperate to save Ling, but Tian arrives and tells them that he has discovered their plan and is preventing them from escaping. Suddenly, the prison door locks, so they make a quick escape before it locks on them. As soon as they get out of the prison, they find the teacher in front of them, and he finds out what happened from the guards, who reported it to him. As a result, the teacher punishes everyone who infiltrated the prison, including Tian. While they are in the prison, he asks Ting about the advanced engineering that went into the construction of the prison and its doors. He learns from Huan that the prison was made by the former winged king Desu, who was a very successful engineer in the kingdom. And Tian interrupts them to tell them that one way he can save Ling from punishment is for her to go to the temple and start studying there. But Ting refuses because the tests for applying to the temple would be too dangerous and difficult for Ling. She has to enter the secret cave for a few days and defeat the secret jewel monster. The next day is the day of Ling's punishment, and Tian asks Huan to whip her, but Huan refuses, and Ting decides to wage war on the winged clan to save Ling. When the spy learns of the news, he immediately relays it to Tian, who goes to Ling and tells her about Ting's decision, and Ling gets scared and realizes that she is the reason Ting's life has been ruined, and he has lost the throne. She learns from Tian that the best way to save herself and Ting from the war is to apply to study at the temple. Ling agrees, meets the master, and asks to be a student at the temple. The teacher agrees and tells her that her exams will start tomorrow. When Ting finds out, he tries to stop her, but Ling is adamant about her decision. Meanwhile, Tian is with Huan at the cave gate and orders Huan to find a way to open the cave gate after Ling enters. The next day, everyone gathers at the cave, and the teacher says that the first test is to get through the cave and defeat the monster and the guardian of the amulet. The teacher opens the cave, and Ling hands Ting the amulet to Ting. Ling enters the cave in fear, and as soon as she enters, she meets the monster, which is very large, and as soon as he sees Ling, he attacks her. Ling runs away from him and defends herself, and everyone hears Ling screaming in terror. In the meantime, Huan finally manages to open the cave door, and Ling runs out of the cave, and the monster runs after her. Everyone in the temple flees, except Ting, who refuses to run away and decides to fight the monster and get rid of it. However, the monster is much stronger than him, and beats him so badly that he falls to the ground and bleeds, and the teacher and his assistants see what happened and decide to help him, and decide to hit the monster in the center of its power, so it falls dead immediately. Meanwhile, Tian takes advantage of the chaos and sneaks into the cave, steals the magical amulet, and leaves a spy stone in its place in the human clan to steal the thing. After what happens in the cave, the teacher decides to punish Ling because she was the cause of the chaos and also the one who brought the monster out of the cave. But this time, Ting insists on his decision and tells the teacher that Ling has no fault in what happened and that the monster was very huge to overcome. The teacher is totally convinced and agrees to spare Ling from punishment. Suddenly, Ting falls to the ground in a terrible pain and is rushed to the place where he falls into a coma due to the beast's powerful hit. Ling stays by his side for a few days, and the teacher discovers that the magic amulet has disappeared from the cave. After searching, they find Tian's assassin stone and summon him for investigation, only to discover that Huan opened the cave after Ling entered, and both of them get punished for their silly act. When Ling learns of Huan's being away, she goes to meet him and tells him that she will help him return to the place. But he refuses and tells her that he will look for a place to teach him this specific theme. Huan continues on his way, but suddenly guys appear in front of him. They take him to a house in the forest and lock him there. When Huan gets into the house, he discovers the needed tools and science books in the house and is delighted to having found them. Sometime later, Tian sells a magic herb to Ting with the maid, but Ling is afraid and thinks it is all poisoned. And although she declines to give it to him, the maid gives it to him without Ling getting to know. And once the herb does its job, he regains consciousness after being in a coma for 4.5 days, and Ling is very happy and sorry that she was the cause of this painful statement. But Ling's happiness doesn't last long because Ting is getting worse, eventually faints. Ling thinks that Tian wants to get rid of Ting and that he really gave him a poisonous herb, but after the doctor looked at him, she finds out that his injury from the monster was so severe that it caused internal disorder and that he has few days to live. Guys, please, before continuing, please like the video. This like will help us to grow. We appreciate all of your likes and subscriptions. Beforehand, thank you a million times. Later, Ling begs him to find a way to save him and finds out from the doctor that there is no solution other than the magic, but it requires someone's life in exchange. Ling agrees to give her life to save him, but the doctor refuses, so Ling decides to get ready the recipe herself in order to save Ting from this ending. One of the soldiers sees her and asks her what she has done. Ling tells him that she is saving Ting's soul with a magic, and the man tries to stop her, but she refuses and asks him not to tell Ting when he comes to consciousness. Hours later, Ting awakens from his coma and seems to have improved, but at the same time, Ling shows weakness and fatigue. As for Huan, he asks the guard to meet the owner of the house to thank him for the gifts he found in his house, and when they take the guard to the owner of the house, he discovers that he is Tian, the crown prince, and Huan is upset because he thinks that everything that has happened to him is because of Tian. But Tian tells him that he will compensate him for his expulsion from the temple and provide him with all the books and tools he needs to learn engineering, and gives him a part of a rare book by Desu, which when Huan sees, he is impressed and agrees to Tian's offer and agrees to give him a page of the book every day. Desu knows where his daughter is and that she has gone to the temple, so he goes to the temple thinking he can save her. There he sees the queen, who has come to the temple to visit her injured son Ting. The queen notices Desu on the mountain, but cannot recognize him because his features have changed over the years due to the spell. Meanwhile, Tian is able to invent wings with which he can fly again, after the curse that was inflicted on the winged ones due to their wars with a human clan. He passes the test and is able to fly, but his joy at the success of his choice is short-lived as the wings break off and Tian falls to the ground, returning to the forest house in his fanaticism. He finds Huan in his office, looking for the rest of the Desu book, so Tian gives him the book, but on the condition that he deciphers and opens the amulet's magic code. Huan immediately starts looking for a way to decipher the amulet. At the same time, Ling is in the forest after escaping from the palace, because she wants to rest in peace far away from Ting, because she doesn't want him to feel guilty that she sacrificed her life to save him. Meanwhile, Ting notices Ling's absence, and the magician, recognizing Ling and the sacrifice she made to save him, searches the forest for her until he finds her lying on the ground, very sick. Ting tries to revive her, but to no avail. At the same time, Huan finally finds a way to open the amulet, and when he opens it, a magic flower comes out, and the flower flies away from Huan before he can catch it, until the flower reaches Ling in the forest and disappears into the tattoo behind her ear. And suddenly, the tattoo glows with a strong light, and Ting is shocked and surprised by what he sees. He brings her to the palace, where the queen sees everything that has happened and realizes that Ling is Desu's daughter and the Queen of Flowers, which reminds her of her old feud with Desu, and she decides to complete the revenge she started 18 years ago. When Ling regains consciousness in the palace, she feels something strange and different. like her hearing has become supernaturally strong, so much so that she can hear Ting's conversation with his mother from a great distance. Ling hears the queen's offer to marry Ting, and Ling is very happy because she has loved Ting since childhood. She leaves the palace before hearing the rest of the conversation, in which Ting rejects his mother's decision, and when she asks him why he refuses, he argues that he loves another girl. The queen is shocked by his decision to marry Ling. As Ling leaves the palace, she sees Tian with a letter from Huan thanking her for trying to help him, and Tian realizes that Ling is happy, so he tells her to take a walk with him in the forest. When Ling refuses, Tian makes her to go to the forest with him, and she gets angry, telling him that he should respect her because she will be the crown prince's wife. Tian mocks her, but she confirms her words when she tells him that she overheard the queen herself talking to Ting. Though Tian is surprised by the news, he tells her that he will celebrate the happy occasion with her, and the two of them drink until she mentions Ling and tells Tian that she has found out that he is not as evil as she thought, showing that Diane is moved by her words and drives her to the palace. The next day, Ling wakes up happy and decides to talk to Ting, but when she goes to his suite, she finds him with his maid and gives her an expensive bracelet. Ling is upset, so he lies to Ting and tells Ling that he loves his maid. When Ling realizes that she has heard the queen's decision, Ting tells her that he refused and tells her that he has always treated her like a sister. Ling leaves, only to be summoned by the queen's guards. When she meets the queen, she tells her of her decision and that she is preparing for the wedding. Ling thinks about Ting's words and rejects the queen's decision. The queen is angry that Ling disobeyed her and orders her to be imprisoned. But Ting arrives and helps her escape. He defies the guards and fights with them. Suddenly, Ling finds her father in the palace, and he helps her get away, sneaking her out through the palace's secret doors. Ling is surprised to learn that her father knows all the secret doors, and is also surprised to learn that he designed the palace himself. Before Desu can get her out of the last secret door, he is surprised by the queen who has reached the basement and attacks him. So Desu runs out of the door and tells his daughter to flee the city immediately. He then breaks the key and locks the door, and meets the queen, who removes the mask from face and recognizes him as the person she saw on the mountain. Ling runs away and looks for someone to help her, but she gets tired and falls in front of Tian's place. When the guards see her, they tease and bully her. But when Tian sees them, he gets angry and sends them away, asking her why she walked out of the palace, even though she was supposed to attend her wedding. She tells him that she is not getting married and that she has changed her mind, but Tian realizes that she lied and deceived him when she said that the queen had decided to marry them, and makes her to enter the palace with him. But Ling refuses and orders the guards to expel her. Ling walks away, but moments later, Tian feels guilty, so he goes back to looking for her in the forest and orders his soldiers to search for her everywhere. The search for Ling continues throughout the day, and at night, Tian gives up and goes to the palace and finds her unconscious in the corner by the palace. He runs to the mansion and rescues her, taking her with him. Tian stays up all night taking care of Ling, which is the first time in his life that he cares about someone more than he cares about himself, so much so that he was surprised himself because of his excessive attention. Ting talks to the queen and begs her to reconsider his decision to marry Ling. At Ting's insistence, the queen has confessed the truth to him and takes him to the giant castle, telling him that the castle was built by the human clan over many years, and its purpose is to be his castle after he takes over the government and rules the entire kingdom. She confesses to him that she has discovered that Ling is the queen of flowers, and that by marrying her, she will be on his side, and then their power will increase, and they can fight the winged clan. Ting is shocked when he learns the truth about Ling and thinks back to the day he saw the tattoo behind her cheek in the forest and finds an explanation for the strange situation that happened that day. The queen tells him that he agrees to marry Ling because he must strengthen his army and his clan, fight the winged ones, and seize power as soon as possible. The queen receives word that Ling is in Tian's palace, orders the soldiers to surround the forest, and Ting learns from his bodyguard that there is a strange secret in the queen's quarters, especially after she forbids the maids from entering the quarters and asks for an extra meal at lunch. Meanwhile, the queen opens a secret door in the study and enters a large room, and Desu appears, tied to a chair, and the queen tells him that she will take revenge on him, just like when he left her years ago because of a country girl. It turns out that the reason the queen hates Desu is because she was in love with him, but he chose to run away with his girlfriend and leave her. As the queen exits the secret compartment, Ting enters the compartment and quickly hides before she sees him. Once she enters her suite, Ting opens the secret compartment and is surprised to find Desu, whom Ting recognizes as Ling's father. When he tries to help him, Desu refuses because he knows that the chains are hard to get rid of, but he asks Ting to protect his daughter, and Ting asks him if the queen's words are true, that Ling is the queen of flowers. Desu emphasizes her words and asks him to save Ling from the queen's mother, and to look for the magical amulet that complements the flower amulet and that allows Ling to protect herself. And Ting promises him that he will look for it himself. As for Ling, she decides to go back to save her father from the queen. But as soon as she leaves the palace, she finds the queen's guards surrounding the palace. But Tian saves her and brings her back to the palace, because the human clan soldiers are forbidden to enter the palace on wings. Tian goes to the forest house and asks Huan if he unlocked the amulet, and Huan tells him that he did. But the magic flower comes out and flies away before Huan can catch it. Tian gets so angry that he hits Huan and leaves, upset that the magic flower is gone. He returns to the palace to check on Ling and is shocked to see the tattoo on her neck. And Tian realizes that Ling is the queen of flowers. When Ling regains consciousness, she goes out into the palace courtyard and sees Tian practicing. Ling talks to him and asks him about the whip in his hand and learns that it was a gift from his father. Ling tells him that he is kind, but pretends to be strong and fierce, and Tian confesses to her that he hides his true feelings because he is the crown prince and must be strong, as he learned from his father. Ling thinks of her father and wishes she could save him. While they talk, the magic butterfly brings her a message from Tian, telling her that her father is in the queen's palace and is fine, and assuring her that he will let her meet him soon. Tian asks to meet Ting, and when he meets him, Ting informs him that Ling is at the palace. Ting gets so angry that he fights with Tian, and they start a duel, but Tian ends it when he says that he knows the truth about Ling and that she is the queen of flowers. He says that protecting Ling is his responsibility, and Ting is surprised that Tian is willing to help him protect Ling, even after learning the truth. Ting returned to the palace and approached the queen with a bow. "Your Majesty," he said, "I agree with your decision for me to marry Ling. However, I suggest we release her father first. This will ensure Ling returns to the palace willingly." The queen considered his words and nodded. "Very well. Her father will be released immediately." Meanwhile, Tian's treatment of Ling grew harsher. He made her work all day as a servant and then locked her in a cell. Ling begged him to let her out, but he refused, his coldness bewildering her. As her hope waned, the palace guards, led by Ting, arrived at Tian's household. They quickly overpowered Tian's men and found Ling in her cell. Ting unlocked the door and gently called her name. "Ling, I'm here to take you back. Your father is free." Ling, tears in her eyes, embraced Ting. "Thank you," she whispered. Back at the palace, the queen announced Ling and Ting's engagement. Ling's father blessed their union, and they looked forward to a future together, having overcome their hardships. Thank you for watching. We really hope you enjoyed watching the drama. We appreciate all your likes and subscriptions. Thank you. Just click to watch more.